want to slaughter it and get you teased more than you probably already are.
Oh, no, the way you pronounce it is how you get teased. It's Moleski.
Moleski, so that's how you get teased. Okay,
Uh-huh,
so you
uh-huh.
just call it Moleski, and then it all works out for the better.
Yeah, and I'm 42 years old, and it's been happening since about sixth grade. But it's funny that the people that do the jokes now think it's so original and funny.
Right.
It's
Well,
fun.
you
It's
know,
fun.
it's like people who make fun of my name. It's like yawn. It's like, oh, I haven't heard that since first grade.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, you're so original and such a troglodyte with a low IQ.
Well,
So,
it is the way it is. But it is Moleski.
and so we're gonna just talk about stuff today, and
I think so.
I think we're gonna have fun, and I think it's probably gonna be funny. You're pretty funny.
It can be.
You can
But see,
be.
whenever I do a live thing, I get really nervous because I have no problem with one-on-one conversations. But then when I know that even someone else is listening, even if I'm at a restaurant, I'm like, oh my God, these people are listening. What are they going to think about this? I'm like, why do you even worry? But that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. So you're probably like really nervous and tense because there's people piling into the live feeds and stuff right now.
It, I'm a little nervous. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if I point it out, it it increases the nervousness.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm just teasing
Welcome
you anyway.
everyone. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited.
welcome
I'm
everybody.
excited to talk. Uh-huh.
So, who came across whose work first here? I came across your work like 6 or 8 months ago, and I saw
Nope.
some video, and I thought you were pretty funny
Uh-huh.
and smart.
Uh, geez, I don't. A couple years, I guess, maybe 2, 3 years. Um, really, about a year ago with the Trivium, and I even commented in one of your videos, like, where do I learn more? And then you directed me to the website,
Oh,
and then I
really?
was, yeah, uh-huh. And then I started devouring more information, which is slow going. By the way, some people can just read. I think that you're one of these people. You can just read a ton of information and retain it and use it and put it in with experiences. I
I
have to
I
read a
have
paragraph and
I have a secret database.
that you just reference, or
Well, I show it on screen all the time, so it's not very secret. It's like in and out secret menu that's not secret or something like that. But
but still your
um,
retention. I imagine that when you read a book, you're like, oh, got it, got it, got it, and I have
right.
to reread and
Well,
reread
and
for
then
that.
I plug all the data points into the database so
Mm-hmm.
that I can go back and constantly reference it and know where I got those citations from
Got it.
and see the
Clever.
links. So I started the database like 13 years ago, and so I used to be an IT manager back in the 90s, and I had to print out the company database on my office walls to figure out where a problem was with the database. And as I'm looking at this whole data tree on my office wall every single day as I came into work, I was like, oh, I could probably turn this into a political analysis and track um, stuff and corruption and people and things.
Uh-huh.
So then in 2006, I tried it with a software called Mind Maps, and that kind of flopped really fast.
Oh, okay.
And then in 2007, somebody turned me on to the Brain software, and I've been using that ever since. So
Got it.
I
Good to
may I
know.
may look smart on TV, but I'm not really.
You look moderately smart on TV.
So let's dive in here. So we got a bunch of talking points. We wanted to get into feminism and
Mm.
MGTOW, and how you sigh at the vocalization of MGTOW.
I do. Oh
MGTOW
shit.
is men going their own way, and
Hmm.
they're like the soy boy version of feminism, I guess.
I have mixed. Let's just get into this one right now. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
So I have, how you have a regular heartbeat, and then if you work out hard or if you're asleep, but it's always in a range. So I have a range about my thoughts on MGTOW. And I feel like a lot, maybe the 80-20 rule, I don't really know, gives a bad name to some MGTOW. So I think any human being going their own way, whether you're a man or a woman, if you really want to better yourself, I have no qualms with that. I think it's wonderful. I think it's fine. But there are so I did a MGTOW video about 10 months ago, and people are still doing like exposing Jennifer Moleski, and they from 10 months ago. I'm like,
Yeah.
I
Well,
wish that you had newer content,
yeah.
or that you actually talked about bettering yourself. But anyway, I digress. There are in this video that
Welcome
I
to the
did.
club. You get hit pieces done against you. So, welcome. You're making it.
Yeah, except for like the last one was about how flabby my arms are, and I have a big nose. So it's like, okay, well, what about what I said? Okay. But 10 months ago, 11 months ago, I did this video. And I remember I used a specific line, and it was, if a population of good men are going, that's a problem for a percentage of women. But then thousands of comments came in that didn't, to me, did not represent a high quality human brain function. It was a lot of blame and just swearing, and you had a big
You
nose.
mean like feminism, like men are all evil and all this
Yeah.
misandry crap, and
Yeah. Now I will say, I think that the MGTOW have a little bit more valid points currently. I think it is easier to screw over men in court, and the law tends to side a little bit more with women. But I just don't, complaining and blaming is not I don't advocate that. And when a bunch of complaints came in to me specifically, like, okay, if you really think this, then you need to go protest in the streets. Well, I don't protest in the streets about anything. So I think these people were angry, or I don't know, into the new phases of MGTOW, and were, to me, according to me, giving MGTOW a bad name, because I think there are people out there that are like, I don't really care. I'm just doing my own thing.
did you
Just
ever
doing my,
did you ever study Karen Straughan's work?
yeah, I like her.
Yeah, I had her on the show 2 or 3 times way back in the day,
Uh-huh.
and her work exposing feminism. Boy, that one day or one weekend, I just binge watched her shows, and it was just like, oh my god, like these feminists have really spun everything.
Yeah.
And so and for those of you who don't know, if you never studied Karen Straughan's work, she goes by Girl Writes What, or used to. But she's got a channel on YouTube, and she's got a lot of stuff. I don't know if she still focuses on feminism anymore, but she was pretty much the lead researcher out there for years.
She's super competent, very articulate. Yeah, I think she does good things.
But she basically exposed the whole feminist movement as a fraud. The other day, speaking of my database, the other day I sent you, I'll move my glass out of the way so I don't knock it off here. The other day I sent you a quote from the CIA's former director of Central Intelligence, William Colby, on Gloria Steinem. And I would like to read that because, and I had mentioned to you that the whole thing, whether it's feminism or the suffragettes or MGTOW, is really eugenics. And so there's a quote that I've kind of made famous over the last few years, and I'm going to show Miss Playboy Bunny Gloria Steinem on screen here. DCI William Colby is quoting her. He says, I might quote Miss Gloria Steinem, one of those so assisted who commented that the CIA, quote, wanted to do what we wanted to do. Present a healthy, diverse view of the United States, end quote. I never felt I was being dictated to at all. And so that's directly off of the CIA's FOIA website. You can pull that up, and it's there in the database on my website for those of you who want to track that down and find the original. But, so when you start getting into the peeling back the layers of the onion on this thing, you realize that this is really engineering to break apart the family, and that's the more insidious aspect of it. So first they started with the women, turning women into wanting to be men. You too should be firefighters, and the men are all suppressing you. And it's like they spun everything. So they turned men's protection of women into suppression of women. And so, the men, don't want you working in the gold mining caves and in the Emperor Mine in California because they're trying to suppress you, or they don't want you to be a fireman or a policewoman, or a firewoman or policewoman because they're trying to suppress you. Or they were trying to protect you because you have a womb and they want the species to continue on.
Uh-huh.
right? And so all of this stuff was spun, and they created a whole system of misandry and hate towards men to break apart the family. And if, socialism and communism, and in fact, Harvard Magazine just came out this week saying that they need to destroy the family to save the children.
What? Wait, how does it work
Well,
exactly?
yeah, well, that's communism for you. We're not talking about any sense, I mean, the
Yeah.
leftists never use sense. So I'm going to try to. Well, why don't you talk, and if you have something to comment on what I just said, while I try to find that Harvard article.
Okay. Well, yeah, okay. I would say that the left doesn't use, it's just mental gymnastics, I would say. And I've done it before too. We probably all have, where we have an idea that feels something, and we spin everything that we see and hear to fit that
Right.
narrative.
Rather than following the evidence to the conclusion, you take you find the conclusion, and then force all of the evidence, or cherry pick all of the evidence to fit that preconceived conclusion.
Sure. And I feel particularly bad actually for the men and women who go to college nowadays. And even compulsory, K through 12 education, but it's 15,000 hours of telling you what to think. I think it'd be very frightening if they taught people how to think. So we have these people who are being told that men are bad and women have been oppressed. So women, I don't know, the pendulum swings that women should have more power or get payback. And then it's in there, it's like the neuroconnectors have they've hit together, and now this whole network of thinking. And when they go out into the world, it sucks to have a whole narrative that you've always thought to be true be broken down, and to actually like want to go, oh fuck, there's a knot here, so I need to spend all this time trying to unknot this. Because often when you unknot something, it is a clear the information is clear, it's not all jumbled. And I think that's why I'm not a feminist. Maybe. I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons, but I didn't go to college, and I got my GED. I dropped out in 11th grade, and I always loved learning, but there was something about school that was never for me. So I just think I missed that whole.
And see how incapable you came out, and unable to think, and all of that stuff. See,
Well, but yes, I know, but there's people who do say that about me. That's fine. But I think for myself, I used to watch a lot of YouTube content, and in the past 6 months, 9 months, I guess maybe since I started my channel, I don't want, because I would think something. Let's say I wanted to make fun of the left. So I'd find these channels that would make fun of the left better than I could. And I'd be like, oh, that's awesome. But it wasn't making me think deeply. It was just giving me a team to be on. So I kind of ditched all of that and just started reading and considering for my own. And whether that's right or wrong or good or bad, or whether I'm a ding dong or intelligent, I don't care so much. These are my genuine thoughts. And if I trip over a thought, if I get it wrong, I'm invested in the integrity of my brain. So it's easier for me to get out of a mental an intellectual situation, because I'm responsible for it purely.
And it's easier for you to admit when you've made a mistake and say, "Oh,
sucks,
here's the truth."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
And I know a lot of people who cannot do that. Once they commit to an idea, they adhere to it no matter what. And it doesn't matter the amount of evidence that you present. I was just talking with somebody a little bit ago that he had already made up his mind on a subject. Lloyd DeYoung and I did a series of 20 shows over the last year plus exposing Islam and all of this stuff. And he's bought into this particular narrative. He wouldn't even watch the series that we did. But we showed thousands of primary citations. But he's so invested in this narrative that he'll ignore all of this and say, well, but look at this little tiny grain of sand on the beach that shows that, we're really looking at the stars in the sky and not a beach, and it's like, okay, I don't know what to tell you anymore. But if people aren't willing to look at evidence, what are you to do? And so, the evidence, and I have had to do it many times, eat crow and admit I was wrong on the show and say, hey, this is actually more accurate going this direction if we look at these facts. And then you get attacked. Oh, well, you're wishy-washy. You said that before.
Yeah.
Well, I believed in Santa Claus when I was 5, too, and the Tooth Fairy up until I was 5.5. So, are you going to attack me for that,
Well, I mean, the moment, I don't know. It's like, don't speak until you know everything. But I have something to say now. And that tune might change, but allow me that ability to grow out loud with you,
right?
Viewer. I mean, for people that diss you for flip-flopping, for changing.
Oh.
I don't know.
I just, sorry, folks. I didn't mean to flip the screens all about there. But, yeah, I did show that. It was Forbes magazine reported it on April 21st, 2020. To Save the Children, Harvard Magazine calls for the abolition of the family by Tom Lindsay. And, this is the demented crap. Never mind that the communists and socialists and the leftists have, in the last century from 1900 until 1999, they murdered between 148 to 202 million people. And they think that if we destroy the family, that's how you save the kids. What they want is Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, and they want incubator babies, and they want alphas, betas, deltas, and epsilons fed on soma, and that's the only thing that they will accept, And once they have that, they'll have their final revolution, and and then they can scream victory for all eternity until it implodes in on itself. But again, it's going to require another mass genocide, which the left always seems to manage quite well. They're so involved in virtue signaling, and this whole COVID thing, and what do we title this show? Like, and other besides feminism, other ways to die, or and other slow deaths. So
other slow deaths.
Yeah. So this is my rant here. You look at this whole thing and the COVID and all of that and how people are behaving, and you did a really good job a week or two ago making fun of the whole thing in your episode with the mask. That was rather humorous. But you see how people behave if you're not kowtowing to everyone else and going along with the sheep and wearing the mask. And I refuse, And I was at the chiropractor a week and a half ago, and this guy opens this door and he sticks his head in and he looks around and he sees nobody in the office is wearing masks, not the patients, not the people that work there. And our county, it's optional. And so he starts screaming at the top of his lungs, "You a-holes, you murderers." And he goes off for like 10 minutes like this in a place of business.
Yeah.
And then, we get him escorted outside, and then he rips off his mask and starts coughing in the girls' faces. They're in tears. We give the report to the sheriff's department and all, and then this guy is running around the internet crying victim,
Oh, God, of course he is.
And, it's like he's, virtue signaling because he had the mask on and everybody else was endangering his health. It's like, well, if your health is so fragile, why don't you stay home? But the office had told him, hey, because he's kind of neurotic, the office had told him, look, why don't you let us know when you're in the parking lot and we'll make accommodations for you? Because they know he's like OCD and a germaphobe and neurotic and all of this stuff. So they were willing to accommodate. But instead, he flipped out and got the sheriff's department called and then cried victim and went all over the internet, blaming his behavior on everybody else. And he totally accosted these girls. And then we find out he was accosting other businesses, et cetera, in the local area. So it's just, this whole victim mentality. And you take that and you go a couple more steps, and then you see the genocides that the left has done throughout the last 200-300 years. What do
I
you?
think it's spooky. I don't like they've played it so well though. And for anyone that's listening that is pro mask, I actually understand where you're coming from with the narrative of, if you're not wearing a mask, you're bad because you're harming everyone else. But that's just not my thinking. From what I've read, from my beliefs, from the numbers I've seen, I'm not there.
Yeah.
Uh,
99.99% survival rate. If you know, and then most of the deaths we see took place in retirement homes, etc.
uh-huh.
So then, why don't we lock down the retirement homes and not the entire world, and then put everybody on quarantine? See, I always thought a quarantine was when you put sick people under lockdown, and tyranny is when you put normal, healthy people under lockdown. But apparently, now a quarantine is when you put normal, healthy people under lockdown for no apparent reason, before they even had evidence of how severe the thing was, and the numbers were so overblown, and then we saw them inflate all of the numbers to continue to justify it, and then we saw that it was a political agenda, and the Republican-run states were already opening while the Democratic states were still under lockdown, and this kind of thing. And so then you see it becomes a blatantly obvious political agenda between the communists and the free thinkers,
Yeah, and I when this first came up, I was very curious as to where all these people came from that care so deeply about the elderly.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like when the leftists pretend that they care about children that they don't have, and then they run around bragging about their abortions. It's like how many babies? I forget the exact number. It's pretty outrageous, but the number of abortions is well over 1 billion.
I think it's like 8,000 a day or something. I think
Here,
I just pulled that number.
I'm out of your place.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So here's the official clock right now. Since 1973, Roe v. Wade, 61,976,000, and then by Planned Parenthood, 8,791,000. In the United States today is 1,700. So while you can't do all of these elective surgeries, it's okay for the women to go in and kill their babies. Apparently, that's not elective. As long as you're promoting eugenics and feminism and this sort of thing, it's totally cool. And then black babies since 1973, 18,593,000. Worldwide since 1980. Ready for this? 1,576,000 or 1,576,153,907, 8, 9, 10. Counting. And this chart is kept up to date. So,
and that's starting from what year?
1973 are some of the calculators, and then
Okay.
and then the worldwide calculator is from 1980 forward.
Okay.
Since
to that I blame feminism. It's so surprising to me with how enlightened and woke and intelligent and educated everyone is that they forget that banging will produce a baby. Probably.
Is that how babies are made?
That's what I read. I haven't gone to college, so I'm not positive. But from my research, it's when two people that love each other very much. No, I'm just kidding.
So if it's a tranny with a sex change, and because they can make up genders now. So if it's an attack helicopter and a trans horse, a trans species, can they make a baby?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think when you cut your genitalia off and then fake it, I don't think you can do that. But
so are you, just to be clear here, so are you saying that if a man cuts off his penis, he's not a woman?
I am. I believe that.
So what your argument would be, he would be a man who cut off his penis.
Yeah, and a woman that plugs up her vagina and has her skin of her thigh rolled up
Oh,
to make a penis
that's
isn't
not
really a guy.
that's not a penis.
No, it's leg skin.
Oh, whoa. That's
Did you
gross.
know that
So
that's what they do?
no, I didn't. So thanks for oh. It's like it's like you
What
know
a bummer.
if I turn and puke, yeah. But you know, of course, if you don't accept this behavior, so I have this 500-year-old book called The Hammer of the Heretics, and
Okay.
it actually lays out, and it used to be the most popular book next to the Bible. It actually lays out that all of this stuff is witchcraft, and so what they've done is they've made witchcraft become
Cool.
cool, right? Become accepted, become the norm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so if you were trying to create potions to kill a baby, that was witchcraft. If you were trying to make boys into girls, that was witchcraft. So they've literally, like the Hammer of the Heretics lays this stuff all out. It's pretty wild. But so when I was a kid, if you wanted to pretend you were someone else, you know, like if you're 5 or 6, 7 years old, you wanted to pretend you were someone else, you put on underoos and you ran around the backyard and, you know, you were Superman or Batman or maybe you were Wonder Woman or whatever. And, you know, and everybody was like, cool little Bobby or whatever, you know, cool little Jennifer, you know, you're Wonder Woman. And then, you know, when it came dinner time, the delusion ended.
Yeah.
Right? But now what they do is they pass laws, and if you don't participate in the other person's delusion, that if they hack off their junk, and they're suddenly not this other thing, or you know, an attack helicopter, or a trans-species horse or dog, or whatever. There was somebody who was claiming in England to be a horse. I saw a woman recently claiming to be a deer.
She's a
The moderator lady
yes.
for YouTube or for
Twitter or Discord or Twitch or one of those.
yeah, and so you hire the most you know, person. Damn Harleys.
I know. Everyone's very busy.
Well, so thank goodness for South Park, because they renamed the Harleys. Do you remember? They renamed them.
No.
Like 5 years ago, they renamed them fags.
Oh, did they?
Because they, right, you know, so that was pretty good. But
no, I didn't.
so yeah, you got to go back. You know, and here's the thing. It's like, speaking of South Park, I'm just going to do a momentary segue here because it's funny.
Okay.
But years ago, they did an episode on the Prius drivers called Smug Alert, and the Prius drivers were farting in wine glasses and sniffing their own farts, right? So today, I'm going around running some errands, and I couldn't help but see the correlation between people, you know, wearing their masks and smelling their farts, and
it's gross.
I don't know. It's
okay. So
I'm weird like that. So
no, that's I don't think I saw that episode, but we were just talking about it a couple days ago. So I know what you're talking about. But I want to go back to the trans conversation really quick and bring up a point that's not mine. This is not an original thought. This is Jordan Peterson's. I went to go see him when he was here in Colorado Springs, and I had
what do you think? He's been personally handed my research twice, and he still promotes the same bullshit.
Well, I like him.
Do you?
I do. I think he's gotten a little, I don't know. I think a couple of years of constant interviews and talking about the same shit, it has gotten to him, and he's a little bit different. Or maybe it's me. But
he you know, he did take over Leary's job at Harvard and Leary was an admitted CIA agent, and anyway, never mind.
Okay, so it could be, but when there's a good thought, there's a good thought. So he said after his speaking engagement, his theory that he was kind of working and playing with was, okay, so helicopter parenting came out in about like 1973 or something. Is when a little boy named John or Jason, Adam went missing, and that's when cable TV really exploded.
Yeah, was that when America's Most Wanted started?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Because it was
his
his son, right? Yeah.
Yes, and he's also the guy that started America's Most Wanted also did the pictures on the back of milk cartons at schools.
Yeah.
For missing children. So,
right, because that's what you want to do, is you put it in front of other children to identify the missing children, and then make the children all scared.
Okay, exactly. So I don't think it made children so scared, but that's when helicopter parenting started. And like there was
Is
always
that
weird.
different than helicopter gender, attack copter?
It is,
Oh, okay.
as far as I know. So so when that happened, there was always weirdos and rapists and kidnappers and murderers, right? But then it was introduced into the social conscience of everyone. So people stopped letting their kids play with other kids to a degree, possibly, maybe, that their play pretend with other people and figuring out the hierarchy of children was removed. Okay, so you don't have a chance so much in your youth to play pretend. Okay, then children grow up. They don't grow up into adults. They're just kind of big children. They go off to university and they get to experiment with playing pretend, but now they have the power because slowly the universities have given them that power. But it could be that they're just exercising the play pretend and don't understand true ramifications because, well, okay, so you have helicopter parenting, but then I think you also have a group of parents who, I mean, how many people do you know or that you've heard of that have shitty parents to the extent that they didn't learn responsibility? They just got what they wanted because parents both were at work and they wanted their kids to feel loved. So just whatever Jimmy wants, whatever Jane wants, give it, give it. Not being able to play pretend, getting whatever you want, 18, have fun. I'm going to cut my dick off and I'm going to play pretend. Oh no. Oh no, that was a bad idea. My is gone and then you can't get it back. Not good. And that's why I think you have a lot of the flip-flopping. I just wonder if it's a form of power to play pretend at such a level. Like I am Superwoman. I'm not just going to pretend it. I'm going to think it and you have to think it too.
Well,
And
yeah,
then if I get tired one day,
and then you're going to lose your job if you work in a hospital and you don't call a man a woman, even though biologically speaking, for them to run the proper tests and everything else, they have to identify you by the proper gender. But if they slip up and call you a woman, if you're really no, if they slip up and call you a man, if you're really a man instead of a woman, then the hospital worker can be fired.
you know what strikes me as stupid is so I've been in fine dining for a long time, and every so often I'll give a like a credit card back to somebody, and I'll say thank you, Mr. Higgins, and every so often they're like it's Doctor, okay, or thank you, Miss Jane Niski, it's Dr. Jane Niski, and I always thought that was kind of pompous, but then I was like, you know what? If I'm going to go to school for X amount of years and then get paid practically no money to be an apprentice, and then finally I can call myself a doctor, great. But the people that have spent 12 to 16 years earning that title would never, ever call the police on me if I didn't refer to them as a doctor.
Right.
16 years,
And
hundreds
they
of
and they
thousands of
could call the
dollars.
credit card company and say, "Would you issue me a new card that doesn't just say my name, that says Doctor so and so?" And then the problem would be
Sure.
solved.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure that I've had credit cards and I just look at the last name and disregard the doctor. That's on me. So they have that. But my point is they've earned it. I don't get to just identify as a doctor.
Right.
I mean, I could, Dr. Oz, huh? but but to be fair, I'm
That was
not
good.
that thing.
Right.
And then to demand that other people call me a doctor because that's what I feel like. What is the difference between earning something
Well, you know,
for a
I'm
title?
I'm Professor Irvin. You know, so get with the
Is that
program.
what you prefer we call you?
Yes.
Oh, should we? And actually, we didn't
Yes,
start this
Dr.
conversation.
Moleski.
Okay. Well, I don't like that. I like something else, and I don't know what it is
Wonder
yet. But if
Woman.
you, no, I've never been into Wonder Woman. I'll think about it and I'll let you know.
Supergirl.
So I just, I'm fine with Jennifer. You know what I don't like? I'll tell you what I don't like, and now everyone's gonna start calling me. I hate Jenny. I tried Jenny for many years and it didn't work. It feels like crinkly, like rusty,
Well,
like
I like Jennifer. It just sounds fine. Jennifer.
it's just it's fine. So the only thing I'm a little picky about is when you know what I don't like. I guess I'll identify with the problems of being a transsexual or a doctor and not being called it. I don't like. It's not my favorite when I go somewhere and someone's like, "Oh, hey, what's your name?" And I'm like, "Jennifer," and they're like, "Oh, come meet my friend. Hey, Jenny, this is Phil. Phil, this is Jenny." I don't.
And you're
love
like,
that.
I'm Jennifer.
I'm Jennifer, and then if I say I'm Jennifer, then I'm a bitch, and I'm fine being a bitch. But anyway, I wouldn't call the cops on them because I identify as Jennifer, and it's on my birth certificate.
Right.
Whatever.
So Good grief. So the point being is that, people shouldn't get arrested or lose their jobs because they don't want to identify you as a deer or a horse or a dog or an attack helicopter or one of the other 70 some odd neuroses. So what I started doing for the LGBTQ community is I started several years ago, and it wasn't my original idea. I saw somebody else post it, and I was like, oh my God, that's great. They called it the LGBT QWERTY community because
Wait, QWERTY,
that's the top row of the keyboard, right? So QWERTY, so then you're encompassing the whole keyboard, right? They've taken over the whole language, so then it's just like an infinite number of made-up genders and species and trans species and this and that. I was in Maine a couple years ago, and there's this guy walking down the street in downtown Portland, and half was a woman, and the other half was a man. Yeah.
It's artsy.
And, yeah. So, clearly, he wanted to be both. And it was clearly a guy, but he wanted to be both. So, half of him looked like a girl with makeup, and the other half looked like a dude. And
but it's ma'am. Or maybe...
Well, yeah, it could have been ma'am, like that like the Gillette guy, right?
Wait, the Gillette guy.
You remember that meme that went around, like, call me ma'am, the guy that went into the game store and flipped out on...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it became a international meme for like 2 years. I wonder if he's
on YouTube, and he does these raps about being transsexual.
Does he really?
So
he stayed out there. He didn't crawl under the rocks after that whole thing blew up in his face.
No, he only gets about as many views as I do. So he's not doing great, but he's still getting his voice out to the community. I think this whole no. I think part of this whole thing is the importance of being important. Okay, so I shaved my head. Oh, fuck, everyone else has done it. Okay, I have blue hair. Oh, okay, everyone's done it. Okay, I'm a slut. Oh, God, now everyone's a slut. Okay, now I'm conservative. Oh, God, there's other conservatives. What can I do to make people look at me?
Right.
So I can scream, don't look at me.
I'm going to go around and make everybody call me ma'am when I'm clearly not a ma'am. And, not only that, I didn't go through the surgery, but you still got to call me ma'am. You got to... back to the doctor conversation, you got to call me ma'am because I say so, because I got a 5 o'clock shadow and I'm clearly a dude.
And yes. For me, whenever someone doesn't, all we're doing is sending each other pings of information. We're trying to identify who we're talking to. If I'm talking to someone, let's say that I refer to myself as a man. I think I'm a man. I identify as a man. And I'm looking for friends or community. And I say, I prefer that you call me sir or doctor or whatever. And the person doesn't do that to me. It would never even occur to me to demand that they do that. That would be my data point for maybe not wanting to spend time with them.
Right.
If I'm looking for a community of like-minded people
who are willing to pretend that you're Wonder Woman or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, if that's their belief system,
right?
Fine.
So under Christian values, you're not supposed to lie. So there was several years ago, there were some people that were in, I forget, it was Argentina or Brazil. I think it was Argentina, but they were planning on coming up to the States, and they call me up and they say, by the way, my friend wants to come, but she is a he. Or it's a girl who thinks she's a boy, so you need to call him he. And I said, well, I'm not going to lie for anybody. I'm a he, and I know what a he is, and she is not a he. And so I'm not going to play the fairy tale. I'm not going to lie for this person. I'm going to call she a she. And so they decided they weren't coming to the United States and blah, 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 because I wouldn't take up their lie for them, and it was like, wow, well, that's all up to you because, but it's so weird. It's like, well, if you don't participate in our lie and our mental disorder, we
You mean their truth?
their truth, because truth is relative to them. It's not trivium based, right?
Uh-huh.
Right? A contradiction. There are no contradictions in nature. A contradiction is always the sign of a lie or an error. But they don't believe in that. They believe in whatever you want reality to be. It's like the world is just a reflection of me, and how dare you? It's the most egoic thing ever, the leftist idea of spirituality. The whole world is a reflection of me, this whole perennial philosophy, primacy of consciousness idea. And so, since you, Jennifer, are my reflection, you have to say what I want. You don't have your own agency to be Jennifer. You have to participate in my delusion. And I said no, and they were completely shocked. I'm like, no, I'm not going to play that.
Uh-huh.
So that was...
But I like that. I mean, that's how we're figuring out who we want to spend time with.
Pianist Philadelphia asked if that was a first date. That's pretty funny.
Wait,
the half one? Guy, half woman,
Oh.
That was pretty good. Good one, pianist. High five on that.
See, ahead. I find this whole thing similar along the kind of the graph line of like fat girls and halter tops.
Yeah.
Like fat pasty girls in halter tops. Uh-huh. And I hear so many people say, oh, it's gross, you should never wear that. I'm like, yeah, they shouldn't wear that to attract you. But there's some guy that's like, damn, look at that fat pasty girl in the halter top. That's my type of girl. And that's how people couple up. It's by identifying. I have a meetup. I'm hosting it 20 minutes ago. Someone else is hosting it right now. But it's been brought up.
Tell him to just watch our show and get over it.
Okay, now that made me think about them, and I forgot.
Halter tops and pasty and guys and girls connecting because somebody's in a pasty leotard or whatever.
Oh yeah. Okay. Reverse stereotyping. So when you see someone, you think about a halter top. And when you see someone with a wig on, makeup, beard, okay, so you're taking in all this information of the world around you based on however you want to think, whatever, I don't care. In turn, you decide how you're going to present yourself each and every day to be judged a certain way. So I don't think you'd find, I don't know. It's like a lot of the SJWs, if you look at their conventions or their YouTube videos, they'll kind of wear a jean jacket. They're very jean jackety people. You probably wouldn't find a lot of that type wearing suits, maybe more fedoras, but we're all deciding every day on how to present ourselves to the world in order to attract or dissuade people from being friend or foe.
Right.
Like I don't want to be in their camp, so I'm not going to dress like that.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're not gonna shave your head and carry feminist signs around wearing a Grateful Dead T-shirt because you don't want to attract soy boys at the yoga studio.
I just and I would be dishonest to myself. So and I also don't want to attract that kind of
right. And then you would what do they call that now? It used to be called a man bun. Now I guess it's called a bitch biscuit.
Oh, is it? Oh, dear. Yeah, the man bun community. But there's girls for them. There's so.
Yeah. Well, and they don't ever have to worry about, him being upset if they go have an abortion or whatever. And,
no,
everybody be happy.
It's the woman's choice. What is peculiar to me is it's the woman's choice to wear what she wants to wear, to talk to who she wants to talk to drink what she wants to drink, to meet who she wants to meet, to take home who she wants to, and whether or not to use a condom or not.
Right.
All of these choices lead to this really, really important thing.
Right. And then
they take responsibility because they don't want to, they can't afford it.
The man, well, no, or... Well, I'm having this baby, and now you're responsible for it because I was irresponsible.
Yeah, but I'm equally pissed off at men because for every dude that's not wearing a condom, there's a woman. For every woman who's like, no, I'm clean, you don't have to wear a condom, there's a guy who doesn't wear a condom. These two people are intertwined unless she fit. You know what, guys? If a woman says that she is on the pill, who cares? Don't put your dick inside of a vagina with no condom unless you're married or in a long-term relationship. That's my advice. Jennifer, I didn't ask you. Okay, well, that's my advice. Take it or leave it.
And then,
Don't.
yeah, and then, oh, yeah. Well, you don't need a condom because I'm on the pill. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, wait a second. If you're on the pill, then what does that say exactly?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I did a show on the damage the pill causes to the woman's brain about a year ago, and that's a whole mind blowing thing there as well.
It's no good. I mean, but I can understand the desire for it. Like, let's say that you're married and you've had 8 kids and you're like, holy shit, oh my God, I love my husband or I love my wife and I want to keep doing this thing because it's really fun and I really like this person because we're married.
Coitus interruptus?
What's that?
Coitus interruptus?
Like pulling out? Or
yeah,
what are you saying?
Coitus interruptus.
Oh. There could be coitus interruptus, but yeah, and I think that's fine when women are in tune with their bodies.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, a woman can always track her cycle too. That can help. You know.
Yeah, it can. It's funny because women are not very in tuned with their bodies.
Not anymore, because you know, here, you don't be in tune with your body. Take a pill. You don't even have to pay attention to your body. Isn't that better to not pay attention to your own body and take a pill? And who created the term the pill? Do you know?
No, but you do, doctor.
Aldous Huxley.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Well, this is all about eugenics and whatnot, right? So that's who created the term the pill. That's one of his neologisms.
What would you call it?
I wouldn't encourage people you know, see, his whole thing was destruction of the family. So here, I'm going to show their neologisms on the screen here. Okay. So like tinfoil hat, Julian Huxley, the pill, Aldous Huxley, psychedelic, Aldous Huxley and Humphrey Osmond, agnostic, Thomas Henry Huxley, transhumanism, we're talking about trannies, Julian Huxley, World Wide Web, Julian Huxley, Big Brother, George Orwell, who was Aldous Huxley's student, anal was Thomas Henry Huxley, Darwinism was Thomas Henry Huxley, entheogen was Gordon Wasson and Carl Ruck, who worked with Aldous Huxley, atomic bomb, who was H.G. Wells, friend of Aldous Huxley and Thomas Henry Huxley, flower children was H.G. Wells, clone was John B.S. Haldane, friend of Aldous Huxley, and then so like that, yeah.
And we thought that 2 bushes in the White House was odd.
2 bushes in the White House.
Well, yeah.
Was there a hidden meaning to that, or?
No. But I get it.
But I get it.
No, that's a lot of one family doing stuff. Who is?
So what do you think about Michael Obama? You know.
I don't know. You know, I don't know. It's so hard for me to tell if pictures are doctored.
There was one that came out recently that was just like, oh my God, really? I mean, it was bad.
Well, okay. So when I did that MGTOW video, oh God, there was a MGTOW channel that I think they just find women in particular making MGTOW content, and then they send the imps over because it said, we found a live one. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. What? Cheer me on? No, go and verbally destroy this woman. And I think someone said she looks like a tranny, you know, and they're like, I have big hands and because it's a really long neck, right? And I have wide shoulders. So every so often people are like, oh, I heard you were a tranny. I'm like, okay, no, but if I got big enough, I mean, if I got enough people, you know, enough subscribers and people hated me, I know. I mean, I would if I hated somebody and I had that mindset, I would put a dick in my dress, you know, be like, oh, see, I told you. So it's very hard for me to know what to believe.
So you're saying you would put a dick in your dress? Here, I'm just going to show this. You can. So I'm gonna. I, okay. I'm gonna show
Are we
this.
done?
I gotta go now. Good grief!
Giving
I'm gonna
everyone a
show
good
this
idea.
clip.
Yeah.
You can watch it afterward. But this one
Okay.
is pretty funny. Funny, ha ha. Let's see if I can find it here. Hold on. Hopefully I can find it. Still. Oh boy.
Here, you look for that, and I'll say the only thing that seems peculiar to me is when.
Before we depart, no packages are
Oh, you got
stolen
it?
at proper compartments.
Is it playing?
Yeah.
And do you think that the country will see the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman
We
president?
already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
No, Michelle is a trans.
All right. There we go.
I like that. Well, I saw that a couple. She was funny.
Yeah. But you know, you'll have to go back and play the clip. I showed it on screen, but Michelle is Michael.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. What convinces me more is the bloopers when he refers to Michael.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that one of him walking down the steps, adjusting himself, and there's clearly a package or a potato in his pants or something.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you go the full? Because they're gay. I don't know. People are weird. I don't know. I don't have an opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if it was true. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't.
So you are indeterminate. You are undecided.
I haven't put a lot of thought into it. I just think it's a funny,
It
easy
is.
way to make
It
make
is
fun
funny.
of. It is funny.
From the mouth of another tranny. Why do you think all the plastic surgery? I don't know.
Oh, for Michelle?
I don't know.
Is that what you mean?
I'm just reading comments here.
I know. I'm talking to the commenter.
They'll have to be. Maybe they're. I don't know. They'll have to answer their own question. Casa how? I don't know. So did you really not plan this for 6:15 for your next little thing?
So when I put in the time, I think I looked up the wrong time. So because you said to be ready by 10, whatever you said, I was 2 hours early, and I was like, man, I'm ready whenever he's gonna come on. And then I was like, oh shit, you know what? I probably did. So then I got to have dinner and do some stuff. I screwed up.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you know, we can wrap it up in like 8 minutes or so. But so Isle of Aaron is asking, Jan, does Jennifer live in Colorado? If so, will you please ask her what she thinks about the decriminalization of psilocybin in her state? That's magic mushrooms. And of course, that's being headed by Kevin Matthews of the, hold on, let me pull up Kevin Matthews here. Kevin Matthews, here he is, and he heads the Decriminalized Denver project, and they're trying to, legalize psychedelics because there isn't enough mind control and social engineering and all this stuff. And when I've interacted with Kevin, he won't even address the primary citations. He'll go sideways every time. I'll give him a whole bunch of ancient 500-year-old texts, and he just goes sideways every time. So, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, but it's different than yours. So as far as I know, it's not happened yet. Like you still can't get it, or it's very boutique areas. I don't know, but I don't care. I don't care. And this is one thing you and I differ on. I find that I have a better life when I let people lead theirs. And until it aggresses on mine, then I'm not.
Isn't that the problem with the whole psychedelic revolution, though, that was promoted by Huxley and the CIA and all of that? And, they've literally, we can see the ramifications of it from the 1960s and stuff forward, decaying our whole society and creating good little socialists. And the whole idea was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and to get people fornicating in the mud to their graven images or their rock idols, you know.
Yeah.
So when we look at this whole agenda that began in 1950, May 13, 1957, with Gordon Wasson promoting magic mushrooms, and I've gone through and I've checked all the primaries. They literally fudged all of the citations so that they could promote the Aztec religion as some sort of lovey-dovey New Age thing, when they were mass murdering, you know, upwards of 8,000 people a day in human sacrifices and eating them, and for the adrenochrome, and you know, and then going out and eating mushrooms as well. So it was a huge like death cult, and nobody wants to talk about that aspect of it. It's just, you know, hey, you know, we need to legalize it so we have more drugs and
Revenue?
more.
Or, yeah.
Well, you know, it's just all of the decay of society, you know. And I used to write books in favor of psychedelics, and now in hindsight, I'm like, you know, whoa.
You flip-flopped.
I flip-flopped because I
Uh-huh.
studied the facts, you know.
Yeah.
Golly gee. You know, what you should have done, Jan, was you should have taken the
Known that.
you should have taken the money and just kept up with that agenda rather than telling the truth, because truth sucks and truth doesn't exist. Truth is arbitrary, don't you know? So, you can't
I
use
wish
the
that-
trivium.
I haven't flopped on it because I never flipped, because I never really put that much brain energy into considering my stance on it. I've had a lot of conversations about it, and a lot of people aren't going to like this. This is where I'm at right now. I think that there's two groups of drugs, ones that harm and ones that don't. So I would say cocaine, alcohol, heroin, crack, meth, not good. Not good.
Where do you
that's-
put cannabis?
I think it's kind of in the middle, because some people I don't
I see the whole couch locking thing and lazy behavior and,
Yes,
and
okay,
destruction
so-
of the family, and it also promotes feminist or leftist values as well.
So I'm not, when people well, I guess it's moderation and everything. I don't think it turns people crazy. I think it does turn them lazy. If you can manage that and do it every so often, that's fine. A lot of people can't lasso in something for moderation. So I would put that on the fence. I think it's far less harmful. Well, I guess in different ways. I don't know. It's right in the middle. And then there's the ones where, you know, some people have done DMT and mushrooms, I would say. And it changes them in a, this is only anecdotal, because the people that I have known.
They turn into New Age religious hippies
No,
and then go to Burning Man.
No, but they've gotten over fears. They've seen themselves for who they really are, not who they were afraid they were. You know, like it's kind of unlocked fears.
But it's more of like a temporary thing, you know. And in my old days, I tried all of that stuff many times. And one of the biggest attacks against me, you know, Jan Irvin must not have ever tried these psychedelics. How could he ever be against them? And it's like, yeah, you know, if you spent 3 seconds looking it up, you'd see I wrote books in favor of them back in my 30s, you know. But it's temporary. It's not like grasping logos, you know. It's more of a perennial philosophy and a primacy of consciousness type thing, where you're projecting out rather than, you know, accepting that the world is real. It's more, well, okay, so Carl Ruck and Gordon Wasson under MK Ultra Subproject 58 created the name entheogen. And so that was to make people believe that they were generating God within. It was the next level of spirituality, because psychedelic meant to generate the mind within. But per the official record, even though Timothy Leary was CIA also, Timothy Leary ruined the word psychedelic, that rat bastard. And so they had to come up with a new name, entheogen. But, you know, so originally they were called psychotomimetics, which was to mimic psychosis, or schizophrenogens to generate schizophrenia. And so then those names were created by John Smythes, Humphrey Osmond, and one other person. I exposed all this like 6 years ago. But then, and then the same guy, who was it, Smythes, created the word hallucinogen. But then, so these words they didn't like. So then they needed a remarketing campaign to sell the drugs to the kids. So Leary faked his whole getting fired from Harvard. Andrew Weil of the Harvard Crimson, who became the big diet guru, helped with that. So they faked the firing. Timothy Leary goes before Congress, requests LSD's outlaw, and then they go about pretending that Harvard and the government were trying to suppress Leary's spiritual message when Leary went to Congress and requested the outlaw to begin with. And so, they create the Hegelian dialectic problem reaction solution, and then they get all these kids to follow Leary, later Terence McKenna, on the drug hippie guru, thing. And McKenna even admitted that he was deep background in public relations. He admitted that he was recruited too. But of course, if you play McKenna's own audio admitting that, that's wrong. You can't play McKenna's own recording of him talking about that. Oh, is that all the evidence you have? Is himself admitting it? It's like anyway. So I can see you're getting anxious.
Is that true?
You're like, I have another thing I'm supposed to be at right now.
No. I was just writing down and listening to what you're saying about McKenna and that whole thing. The thing is I don't have that information. Let me what? There's two strikes against me. I don't have the information that you have, not because I'm not able, but I haven't delved into it. And I've smoked weed once and I was so bad at it that I never did it again. And I've never done any other drugs. So, I mean, it's like I don't have the facts about it, true facts, and I don't have any personal experience.
Yeah, well, the CIA had to undergo serious marketing efforts to get rebellious teenagers and young adults to take the stuff, And it's like when you look at the Aztec records, it's like, death and blood everywhere and eating people and stuff. So they just, when they quote anything Aztec, they just take like 3 words here from the paragraph and 3 words from the paragraph down here, and then they kind of cobble it together and say, look, it's the same religion. You're practicing the Aztec religion, and then, they would take 8,000 slaves and sacrifice them on the sunstone to Montezuma for his coronation, right? And then eat the people and then go eat mushrooms too. So they just leave out all of that stuff. And then, we have not important, right? And people will tell me, well, my use of psychedelics is spiritual and my use doesn't apply that way. Well, any knowledge that they have, and they cause hypersuggestion. I renamed them suggestogens like 6 years ago. But any knowledge they have of these things is because of that suggestion and because of the CIA's own information. Any knowledge at all, right, is because of that CIA propaganda.
Huh. So where do you stand on drugs? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I know. No, that's good. Like all this, the names and I'm a level 2 sommelier. I did that a couple years, about 10, 11. Oh shit. Well, a long time ago. And when you don't know something, like I didn't even know if Cabernet Sauvignon was a region or a grape. So I'm like, fuck, I have to figure this out first.
It's a French grape. Well, it's a region and a grape.
Yeah.
It's a grape from a region.
Did I say Cabernet?
Yeah.
It's a varietal.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, and they grow it in.
I don't drink wine. I always get headaches.
So okay, this might be okay. It doesn't matter. But unwinding that, so when sometimes I don't know where to start with information. Research it is really great advice that I give to people and have heard.
Right. Well, you know where to start. You go with like who, and then you go what, and then you go where, and then you go when.
But sometimes it's good to have a name hurled at you from someone who has studied it, where I can like kind of latch on and look into that, and then start my
dangle like on a thread.
Yeah.
Figure
it out.
Right.
Years and years. Figuring it out, weeks, months, years, whatever.
Yeah, so Scott says, take sex, for example, not inherently bad at all, but we see what they've turned it into. So,
dude, is that Scott that said that?
Yeah.
Scott, you know what? If you're bored, you should go and watch that last video that I just did about God and good and evil
Right.
and
Yeah.
demons.
Yeah.
So I really like it. It's like all the videos that I do that I think have meaning don't get many views. And then if I talk shit on feminism, it's like very popular. 300,000 views. So
yeah, and we didn't even talk about half our outline here. But,
No,
you know, the issue with psilocybin, and one of the most common arguments I get, and every single hippie thinks I haven't heard this argument. And it's like, no, I haven't heard it since like this morning or yesterday. You know, but they you know, they'll approach me all serious and, well, you know, you're dumb and I disagree with you because mushrooms are older than the CIA. And that's the foundation of their argument. So
what is the argument?
because it's older than the CIA, therefore non sequitur does not follow non sequitur. Therefore, it's the true origins of spirituality. Never mind that mushrooms in general are well known to be poisonous, right? You don't just go around and pick up random poisons, but it's the poison within it that causes the hypersuggestibility. You know, but then they say, so therefore the CIA couldn't have, and then blah, 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 on and on and on. And so my use is exempt from any CIA manipulation or control. And it's like, well, let me ask you this. What is the CIA's marketing effort in using them for hypersuggestion and mind control? Crickets. So wouldn't you want to know what that is before you determine if your use is of that or not? But they don't have the, you know, capacity to think that because they're still caught up in, well, if it comes from the earth, it must be good. So there's no poisonous plants out there. You're going to go eat, like, you know, I mean, hey, why don't we shove some poison ivy down your throat? It's of the earth. It must be good, right?
Well, but that's the clump that I was talking about at the very beginning. The clump of thought that's not tangled. It's like somewhere in there, it's old, so it's got to fit in. It has to, instead of like, I'm going to unravel this. Okay, it's old. Oh, actually, that doesn't work. This one, and then you have clean thinking. And it might disagree with you. I don't care. But if they're coming from a clean position and taking in all the information,
right?
Fairly.
See this person. Let me just interject here.
Okay.
August says, they are, in fact, suggestions. Thank you for acknowledging that. That's my word. Anyone who takes them will tell you that they project your own and others' thoughts into your experience. And so much so that even a song that you heard when you were 5 can totally affect the whole outcome of the experience. I have taken them. Mushrooms, when I would think of Aztec temples, I would see Aztec temples. When I thought of mushrooms, I'd see mushrooms growing. One could argue that it's the ideas embedded in the psilocybin itself. No, that's where you're wrong. It's the hypersuggestion. You know, so I mean, unless you are seeing as you're under the influence of psilocybe mushrooms, unless you're seeing like heads rolling down the temples and them like grabbing the hearts out, you know, and getting as much adrenochrome as they can so they can have the vampire experience along with that, and then go off and eat mushrooms together and talk about, you know, slaves and then committing suicide. So if you saw that, then maybe your religion was, or your experience was connected with the psilocybin itself. It's not just conjuring spiritual aspects throughout the ages, but the fact is it has shown me on hallucinations what I was thinking at the moment. Okay, but you were thinking that at the moment. But what I'm saying is like the reality of the history of these things. And if you go through and on logosmedia.com, if you go up at the top and click on top articles and read through the 5 articles there, you'll see how the entire spiritual aspect was manufactured by the CIA. Maria Sabina never, and she's who we got the mushrooms from, and Gordon Wasson went to her. She never used them for spiritual purposes. She was a Catholic. And so what Wasson did was he went around and he interviewed 7 to 16 different curanderas, shamans, illiterate people high on mushrooms, and cobbled this all together and manufactured this religion, this spirituality. And then they sold that, they packaged that together with Maria Sabina and the Mazatec to create a tourist industry, because the Mazatec had just been relocated due to a dam project not a dam project, a dam project. And so they were they were relocated, and they were financially destitute and blah, blah, blah. So they created this whole thing. So it was twofold: create a tourist influx into the Oaxaca region of Mexico and Huautla de Jimenez, and get money in there. And then the backlash of that, the blowback, using gun terms, was to infect millions of middle-class rebellious teenagers with the bullshit brand new concocted religion that the CIA made up on the whim under MKUltra Subproject 58. So, you know, that is the underlying issue. But if you go through and you read the stuff, you know, Wasson didn't just go there and find the stuff. Like when you read the Florentine Codex and Diego Duran and Modellini and all these ancient texts and stuff, what all of the psychedelic reports say versus what the primary texts say are like night and day. So, you know, you know how you can tell they're full of psilocybin bullshit is, you know, check the citations, because what they claim and what the citations say don't match up. It's like, well, where are the heads rolling down the stairs of the temples? You know, I mean, I want to see heads rolling, right? No, just.
It sounds cogent.
Sounds cogent. But yeah. So
How much time?
Too much.
Was it slow, like, was it easy? Like once you read something, then you could find something else, and then you could find something else, or was it kind of slow to discover?
It was slow to discover. So I had written 2 books on psychedelics and all, and then so when I started the show in 2008, ready? It's going to take a minute.
Okay.
So when I started the show in 2008, I started the show by interviewing about 65 of the world's leading psychedelic experts, professors, researchers, authors in the field. And behind me here on the shelf is, behind the banner there, is this big, thick book project. And basically I was 2/3 done with the project, and I was just writing the chapter introductions for the 65 scholars. And it like one day it was just like, and checking all of their citations and putting in all the citations for all these 65 scholars and checking that much information, it was like, oh my God, they're all full of crap, and I'm the one who didn't get the memo. And so then once I started, you know, and in 2011, early 2012, I published an article exposing Gordon Wasson as CIA. And I thought that, you know, the ethnomycology community would be like, pat me on the back, like, good job, great research. You found all these primary citations we didn't have. And yeah, right on, that was amazing. Well, instead, what they all did was they attacked me and tried to get me back in line. And then when that didn't work, they kicked me out of the field. So, you know, it was like, not one of them, even today, it's been almost a decade, not one of them has ever addressed the actual research that I found. And I went through Princeton, Columbia, Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Dartmouth, on, getting all of these primary citations and letters that all these people wrote and exposing what they actually said. Not one professor in the entire field would address any of that. It was all ad hominem attacks and appeal to ridicule. So then that was when my investigation went from being focused on Gordon Wasson to going, wait a second, all y'all mother, you know what's are in on it, or you're incompetent. So which one of you is incompetent and which one of you is in on it? And either way, it was just as bad, you know. And so then I would find these, I call them circle jerks, and we can wrap it up here in a second. I call it circle jerks, though, but, you know, you find these clusters of academics that cite each other, and they use that as their, and there's a really good quote by Bill Clinton's professor Carol Quigley about this, doing this behavior, but they all cite each other to make it look real, and they avoid citing the research. So whenever you see, you know, you're checking all the citations and they're all, you know, circle jerking, then what you do is you go, aha, here's an academic cell, and you dig down into the primaries right there. And 9 times out of 10, more like 99.99 times or 9.999 times out of 10, that's where you find the whole academic fraud going on. And then you expose that to the light, and you see all these academics going ape shit everywhere and going, oh my God, you know, how dare you? And you just expose their whole fraud.
Do you think that? Do you think people are becoming more mistrustful of the formal higher education system, or do you think more people now are buying into it?
They're
Or
totally bought into it. Especially the liberals and the leftists. They go to school and they learn that men are suppressing women, and we have 782 different genders and whatnot, and if you don't believe that, then you're a cisgender suppressive
yeah,
patriarch.
I
So
like the patriarchy, but that's just my personal.
well, you're a feminine woman, and that's the thing is like, here, I wanted to show this, so, and we can wrap it up after this. It's like the difference between feminine women and feminist women is quite dramatic.
Oh yeah.
Feminine women are very attractive. They don't mind getting gussied up, and feminist women do as much to look like a train hit them as they can possibly do. So left-wing feminist women and right-wing conservative feminine women. And so women who don't mind being women tend to be much more attractive than feminist women who want to be men, and have a penis complex.
Yeah, and I guess if you couldn't find, even if you tried and you couldn't be attractive to a man, that'd probably piss a woman off. And then and because she can't couple up with a man, now she has to hate.
I mentioned
man.
to you last week, maybe somebody had messaged me on Facebook. They said that they had a professor in college who told them that feminism was so that ugly women could have jobs too.
Yeah. The thing is I don't think, and I'll probably have people disagreeing with me, but I don't think the structure of faces has changed that much throughout time. I just think that the care that people put into their appearance has diminished.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Men are sold that they'll find a virtuous woman, and women are sold that they'll find a man who will love them and take care of them. And everyone's pissed off in the end, because maybe it used to be like that, but now we all live in cities and we're all packed on top of each other, and people are absolutely lost in who they are, and they're in their ego, and they're not a whole complete person, so they have to have more applause, which is more sex, people that will accept them. And then with the women that can't get that, and the men that can't get that, MGTOW feminism often.
Right. Well, and then they just want to go pay for prostitutes, and it's cheaper for them than paying for a date or whatever. That's how they think.
Well, and the thing
But
is,
what's the consequence in the end, though? And let's bring it full circle. What's the final consequence of all of this behavior, all of this social engineering? Is the destruction of the family. What do you think of that?
Well, I agree. And within a family is a man, a woman, and a child. So we slowly destroy women. We slowly destroy men. They can't couple up anymore, and that destroys children because no one's.
And then Harvard is like, we need to get rid of the family to protect the children.
I just don't understand that. I guess I have to.
Well, that's the whole communist idea. I mean, it's like if you look at Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, back to that psychopath, his whole thing was getting rid of parents and birthing children out of a factory, and then creating alpha, betas, deltas, epsilons, so that they could have perfect little robots. You had a small few who were the alphas who could think, who are the Jennifers and Jans, and then you had the betas and the deltas, and then the epsilons were the bottom rung, and they just, just monotonous robot type jobs, never thinking, that sort of thing.
And so many of my MGTOW commenters are like, "Oh, you're obsolete. Artificial wombs are coming." I'm like, great. Like, what is exciting about that?
Right.
Well, I guess to show women. Oh, show women.
Right. Well, and isn't that the social engineering of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World? And what was he? He was the chief engineer or architect of the CIA's MK Ultra program, which and a Fabian socialist. And if you destroy the family, what do people rely on? The government, Fabian socialism. You put the government as the parent. So, leftists tend to think that, and they tend not to have children and whatnot. So when they leave the home because they don't have children, they think that the government then becomes their mommy and daddy and is responsible to take care of them and give them medicine and, free food and free stuff. So you get all these, liberals who can't think and are, caught up in their Wonder Woman, Superman, uniforms or whatever, and demanding everybody play their "Mommy, I really am Wonder Woman. Pass a law because Bobby next door is saying I'm not really Wonder Woman." I mean, and so it becomes that stupid, So then the government fills the void, and this is exactly what Aldous Huxley's final revolution was. And you sell people a non-reality, a perennial philosophy, perennial tradition, and primacy of consciousness, where reality isn't real, it's whatever you want it to be. What was Aldous Huxley's other book, Doors of Perception? Well, he had many, but he also wrote Doors of Perception, where you didn't use your who, what, where, when, why, and how from the five senses. You shut that off, and to get real knowledge, you needed soma, and you went in to get real, true knowledge. And then, of course, he coupled with that fraud that they were going to portray as the new Jesus Christ, Jiddu Krishnamurti, which that was all another fraud, too. But so all of this stuff was social engineering to attack the family in the long run. So MGTOW, the feminists, the suffragettes, they all fell for bullshit. So y'all need to put down your chips on your shoulders and go outside and say, I see now, and if you and I can figure this out, we can have a family and grow and learn together and, learn from each other as men and women and from our children at raising them, and then we become better people and better society. But, that's the exact opposite of where the culture is headed now due to the CIA's MKUltra program and SRI's Changing Images of Man project. So it's the Aquarian conspiracy, as Marilyn Ferguson put it. So I'll shut up.
No, it brings me, I could talk about a lot more things. Cities and feminism and education and liberalism.
And vegetarianism, that's like an urban religious type of thing. It's people that don't do hard work and that live in cities, work in cubicles, and get their food from wrappers at the store.
Yeah. But I think not getting your own food, not preparing your own food is really detrimental in so many ways. I think when you have to prepare your own food, you have to grow it, you have to earn it, you have to slaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you're not
connected.
So afraid. Yeah, and you're not so afraid of death.
Yeah.
When you get a people that are like, "Oh, we pick up some chicken at the store, but let's get some fish, even though it doesn't grow here, or live here, grow, live. Doesn't matter." Then you remove yourself from the cycle of life, and then when you're put into a plague situation,
right,
you could die. We don't deal with death.
Oh my God! And then you have a bunch of people running around town wearing masks.
And shaming those who don't. And
I had an experience at the post office this morning. This guy walking into the post office in front of me, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing? And then all of a sudden I realized he's walking, and I'm just trying to get inside and get my mail, and he's walking exactly 6 feet behind the guy in front of him.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
and he's got he's like walking like a robot and stepping exactly the right pace. And I'm just like, excuse me, please. And then I ended up going online and writing something that's like, okay, troglodyte, this is a whole new level of stupid I'm not used to dealing with, but
get used to it.
Yeah, well, it's the new normal, because the media told us.
The thing is I understand them. If they believe that this is real and a threat, yeah, they would hate me for not wearing a mask.
Well, imagine men from the 1940s running off the boats on D-Day at Normandy to 90+% actual death versus people today, they have a 1 in 10,000 plus chance of dying, and they're hiding like cowards. But one thing I wanted to say when you're talking about the fish that grow in your area,
Yeah.
is so when men hunt, and I'm sure some women go out and hunt too, so I shouldn't just totally categorize. I do know some women that do love hunting, but especially when men hunt, one of the most spiritual experiences that men have is when they kill the animal and thank it.
Yes.
And so then they have the whole connection with nature and the cycle of life, and then you understand that all life comes from death. And people sit there, oh, well, I just love the animals so much, and I just don't want to hurt them. And if you look at nature, it's like there's the lion killing the other animal, and it's like, well, that's not what nature thinks, or the hawk is like chowing down the mouse or whatever, right? But, so when a man, and so all of these soy boys and whatnot out there, they're so far removed from being what a man is. And yesterday I saw this hippie post that, do we need gender roles anymore? Because technology has eliminated the need for them. And I think she's in your neck of the woods. She probably lives in Boulder and goes to the Neuroparan Institute or something, totally brainwashed. But so she couldn't fathom, that like, that is social engineering. She's like, well, we don't need them anymore, so do we just get rid of gender roles? And it's like she's playing right into the social engineering aspect. But, so it's like when men bring home the hunt and seeing women's reaction, it's like, where I'm going with this. So, there is a connection there, and it's part of our core being, and they can socially engineer it out of us to an extent, but it's still there. And as soon as someone wakes up, they're going to have that realization of what their true connection with nature and with these rules are. Men aren't there to suppress the women, going back to what I said earlier. We're there to protect the women. The women have the wombs, and so it's a protective rule. That's why women have higher voices, so we can hear you from far away when we're off on the hunt, And it's like,
That's cool.
But, but removing men from that role of hunter, and then the same tools for hunting are the same tools for protecting, ironically. You remove that, you remove the role of protector, then you have all of these soy boy, bitch biscuit, skinny jean wearing beta males who are totally removed from that, and their idea of the hunt is going down to Whole Foods to get a pack of tofu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems to me that the men who talk about how dangerous male toxic masculinity is are the ones who are like super creepy.
Yeah.
And it's the guys who are like, I'm a guy, you're a girl, we're cool, are the ones that are far more mentally stable. And I met a guy, he helped me try to learn editing. It didn't work, but because I told him that I host a meetup, and he's like, oh, so do I. We should like go to each other's meetups. And I said, well, what do you talk about? And he said, we talk a lot about how to be a real man and toxic masculinity. I said, I already don't like your group. I don't agree. Like, what is so toxic about you?
It's because you have a penis and testosterone, that somehow makes you toxic.
Well, but here's the deal.
But if they don't even get that it's social engineering,
Well, and it's his little bubble culture of peace, love, and happiness. But here's the thing. No man that I am friends with or have ever been with has ever been icky, ever, never, ever to me, ever, or to another woman that I've seen. He, at the end of the lesson in a coffee shop, asked if I wanted to come over to bang him. Like, no, no, like, why would you even suggest that? It seems so weird to me that he spent a half hour griping about toxic masculinity and how, and then he's the one that's like, so you want to come over and, like, it's so weird.
So weird. Well, we're at an hour and a half. How about we wrap it up here?
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah, that's fine.
Bye.
Yeah,
oh my God.
No, that's fine. That was a
Now
nice
that you-
conversation.
Now that you missed your whole meetup appointment.
No, we have
and-
an hour left. Don't you worry.
Oh, you have an hour left. Oh,
Yeah,
so
it's
you're
a
not.
2-hour thing.
So, oh, okay. So you're only an hour late. So
Mm-hmm.
you're one of those people who's late to your own funeral,
Well,
your own
no,
wedding.
this time
This t-
because Dr. Jan has made me late. It's your fault. I
Dr.
put the blame
Jan.
on you. No, I'm just kidding. It's my fault.
So yeah, great talking to you. We'll have to have you back sometime. I mean, we talked about like 4 points on that whole list.
I know, and yes, we look how dark. Look at this. I'm sorry. It's very dark in this room.
Well, they have these things these days. They're called lights.
I know, and I have a lamp right here, and I don't have a
Oh, that helps.
whatever. Everyone, I'm sorry, but I appreciate you hosting this conversation. I appreciate everyone who's watching and listening and thinking and
Yeah, go check out Jennifer's channel. I linked it in the notes down below. She's pretty funny. She makes me laugh. I die laughing at her stuff. But I mean, some of you might not get it. I think most of you will. Most of my audience is pretty high-minded, but some of you will struggle. And then you'll send her mean messages, and so don't do that. Even if you're tempted, just go back and try and watch it again and grasp the bigger meaning like that we discussed here tonight.
whatever. If it makes you happy.
Joking. I'm just joking and playing and being sarcastic. Jennifer, do you have a website?
No.
No.
Do you think I should have one?
If you want one, if you don't want one, don't have one. But if you want one,
I don't
have
want one.
Okay, then don't. So logosmedia.com. Please hit the like and subscribe down there in the bottom, and hit the little bell thing so you get notifications. And if you'd like to support the show, logosmedia.com, you can contribute there. Also, still sending out copies of the new book on Judaism versus Islam for those of you who donate or contribute $10 or more. So check that out. And thanks, everybody in the audience. We didn't really even have any trolls tonight. So I don't know what happened to
Really?
the trolls. Yeah, it's like y'all are like, must have smoked too much weed before the show or something, passed out. But anyway, thank you so much, Jennifer. See y'all next week. I'm not sure who will be next week, but we'll figure something out. Talk to you again soon, Jennifer. And everybody have a good night.